Good morning. I'm the Jen Edwards part of the duo. I'm CEO of BDCU, better known as BDCU Alliance Bank. Two things about BDCU. First, we're a social enterprise. All of our profits are reinvested back in our communities. And second, we're in the business of banking. Sam and I are here today to talk to you about an exciting partnership that we've formed to bring a purpose-driven organization in the banking sector to the market, and one we hope has potential for scale. This is an initiative that's very exciting for me personally. I spent a good part of my career working for major corporates internationally, and the more senior I got in those organizations, the harder I found to match my value system with those of the businesses I was working with. It finally got to the stage where I thought I had to leave. So I had a look at the credit union industry, and for those of you who don't know much about credit unions, they're mutual organizations that were formed to help members to a better life. I liked what I saw, so I joined a credit union, and I have to say it's not something I have ever regretted. This is also an exciting partnership for BDCU, and to show you why, I have to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We're a regional organization operating in the Southern Highlands and Tablelands of New South Wales. We have 50 staff, 5 branches, and we've been operating successfully for 53 years. 53 years ago, we were formed as an industry-based credit union, where the employees of that industry joined together, pooled their financial resources to lend each other small amounts of money to buy the necessities of life. And that was in an era when banks were not wont to lend small amounts to the average Joe. Well, the world is, in the intervening 53 years, the world has gotten a whole lot more complicated, and so is the banking system. Now, in that world, it's really hard for small players like ourselves to maintain long-term sustainability. Excuse me. And increasing regulation caused us to lose control of our accumulated capital for investments in our communities. So we narrowed our scope to providing ethical banking services. What the partnership with Bendigo Bank has done, it has allowed us the scale to have long-term sustainability as an entity, but it has also given us back all of our capital to reinvest in our communities and meet our social purpose, which for BDCU is that its members and their communities are genuinely better tomorrow than they are today. We call that do good banking. Now we realize that the world is more complicated in the 53 intervening years. So, and we have to be more nuanced in how we play out our social purpose. So that's where shared value comes in for us. And a little later I'll talk to you more about shared value, but suffice it to say that the shared value strategy to fulfill our purpose allows us to progressively invest in our communities while we maintain long-term sustainability as an entity. So that's why it's exciting for BDCU. But why Bendigo Bank? We did look at a number of banking institutions before we made our decision with Bendigo, but they were by far the best fit for what we were trying to achieve, for a number of reasons. Bendigo started as a mutual, so they understood the importance of the mutual values to us in achieving our purpose. They are genuinely a collaborative and respectful organization, which is, when you're bearing a major corporate with a little guy like us, is kind of important. They are embedded in community, like we are, so we're coming from a common point of view and trying to achieve where we're going. And last but not least, Bendigo has a 100-year view to its strategy. So they're into building cathedrals, not cutting stone, which is really unusual for a major corporate. So that's why Bendigo. I'm going to pass to Sam now, who's going to talk to you a little bit about Bendigo and why they're excited by this partnership. Sam?
Thanks very much, Jan. Bendigo's Australia's 5th largest retail bank, and we've grown into that position really through partnering with community-owned social enterprises like Jan's, particularly over the last 20 or so years. But as Jan said, we've got our foundations in community, and Bendigo has its origins in the Bendigo goldfields, started about 150 years ago. And that was really about allowing the community to pool capital for the purposes of community strengthening. And the way it worked in those days was that if you're a customer, every now and then everyone's name would go into a barrel and someone's name would be pulled out of the barrel and then your house would be built. And that barrel, that original barrel, still exists in the Bendigo boardroom today. The board of directors don't sit around and pull names out of the barrel anymore, but it's still there, and that foundation in community is still very strong in Bendigo Bank. And we talk about it a lot, I guess. Unusually, I'm a lawyer by background and came to Bendigo about 10 years ago, and it certainly wasn't things that we talked about in the law firm, but we talk about feeding into prosperity and not off it. I mean, that's our purpose. And in a sense, we recognise that we have a vested interest in that. We recognise that stronger communities, more successful communities, are a good place to run a successful business. And that sort of, I guess, underlying philosophy within the bank has found its way into our corporate strategy, our formal strategy. I mean, lots of corporates have mission statements and visions and all that type of stuff, and we're no different. But ours is to focus on the success of our customers, our people, so our employees, our partners, and our community. And as Jan said, we have a 100-year view, which was, it was interesting for me to listen to the opening statements yesterday about cathedrals and how they're built, how they were built over such a long period. And I guess a 100-year view, why not 50 years, why not 500 years? For us, it's an important element of sustainability, because what we're trying to say is we're going to do business through the generations. And that's what it means to me as well. We also talk about partnering for shared success, and that's another key element for us of sustainability. What we talk about is we have so many different stakeholders in our business, and it's important for us to balance the reward for all of those stakeholders, something that constantly needs to be done. But if we can do that, then we will have a sustainable business. An imbalance is not sustainable over the long term. So in terms of credit unions and why partner with credit unions for us, or former credit unions, again, they're community-owned social enterprises. They are so much better at doing some things than us, particularly locally. They're actually better from a business perspective at winning new customers and looking after them. The local knowledge, local capability, the local people, the local premises that they have are so much more relevant and connected than we will ever be as a large listed organisation. But as Jan said, there's some things that we're better at as well. And those things are things that benefit from scale. So, I guess it's common across many industries that you sort of get this constant drift towards centralisation and consolidation. And it's everyone around here, everyone that demands cheaper products and more features on their products that sort of drives this behaviour to consolidate to get those efficiency innovations in the business. And they're important for the vast majority of people. But by partnering in the way that we do with local community-owned social enterprises, we sort of think that we get the best of both worlds. Well, it certainly suits us very well. We also talk about shared value, which is a business strategy where, and you can talk about different types of things, we're talking here about purpose, but it's really about trying to find social issues and then use business capability to try to address those social issues. And the theory is that if you can find a business solution to a social issue, or certainly make a positive impact, then you can keep doing more and more of that. With our partnership model with community-owned social enterprises, we think that we go some way anyway to address, I guess, the social issue that we often hear about around financial exclusion of local stakeholders. That sort of drift towards centralisation and consolidation that I talked about sometimes excludes people at the local level. Part of the reason is the disappearance of the local decisioning, the inability to take into account local knowledge when you're making a decision. And the banking industry is certainly no different in this respect, because even our regulators are sort of encouraging automated decisioning around data and those types of things. and that really gets away from those local decisions. So our model, our way of, providing a banking offering to the community, we think goes some way to address that. Jan also talked about the release of capital that BDCU have. And what we've done there is we've actually partnered again to enable that capital to be applied in what we call a social impact loan program. Jan's going to give an example of that in a minute, but what's important is that we've again empowered our local community-owned organisations to make their own decisions around how they apply that capital. And we've done all the boring stuff, which is to provide the loan system, the IT and the compliance. Jan, back to you to talk about that.
I said earlier that I'd tell you a little bit about how BDCU is using the shared value strategy to fulfill its purpose, and I can do this best by example. One of the programs that we have running right now is we call the Apprentice Support Program, and it's a program we devised to address a specific need in our market. As I said, we're in a regional area of New South Wales, and our region, the communities in our region, are supported primarily by local business. There is no large infrastructure businesses in our area. And our major industries in the area are hospitality, health, and industries related to the construction. About 5 years ago, the state government started to withdraw its support and training for apprentices and trainees in regional New South Wales. What happened as a result of that is the young people who would otherwise have stayed in the area began to leave to get the training and roles that they needed to get on with their lives. And the small local businesses in the area have suffered as a result because they can't get the resources to train them to grow and develop their businesses. The Apprentice Support Program is designed to try to address that. It's got a number of components. It's got a professional mentoring program, a component where we try to help the kids get the skills they need to start their apprenticeship and do their job. It's got a financial mentoring component where we try to give them the basic financial skills to save and potentially start their own businesses in time. It's got trade discounts with the local suppliers for the tools they need to buy to start their jobs. And the investment centerpiece of the initiative is an interest-free loan to apprentices on terms that they can afford to help them buy the tools they need to start the job. It's received a really good rap from the local community, the apprentices and the businesses in the area, and so far it's doing very well. The program itself we hope to grow. We've got 3 more components we're working on: 2 social loans and 1 investment. We're looking at a social loan for graduate apprentices to start their business, give them a leg up. A social loan for businesses who employ apprentices to help them expand or grow their business. And we're looking at an investment in training facilities in partnership with a local high school to replace those facilities that left us when TAFE left town. So that's what we're doing with that program. What's our long-term goal? BDCU's vision is that every one of our banking services has a shared value component where we can progressively improve our communities by how and why we do business. Back to Sam.
Thanks, Jan. So we've got 4 community-owned social enterprises like Jan operating the Alliance Bank model now. In terms of local community connection, that's about 22 premises or branches, 160 local staff, about 32 local directors of those community-owned social enterprises, and they have about 40,000 shareholder customers who they refer to as members. We're looking to grow the model, looking to grow the Alliance Bank model. In 2017, we have 2 credit unions who are going to join, and we've signed confidentiality agreements to negotiate with 4 others. If we talk about, I guess, our total addressable market, or if the entire credit union industry joined the Alliance Bank model, we'd have something like 800 local premises around Australia, 8,000 staff, about 3 million member shareholders, customers, and almost $7 billion would be released from potential capital to enable those local organisations to make decisions around local lending programs like Jan's just described.
That's it.
Thanks very much.